Sometimes you don't find the town finds you. Ethan was driving alone late at night, lost on a back road he didn't recognize. His phone had no signal. The GPS froze, showing nothing but empty gray space. Up ahead, through the fog, faint glowing streetlights appeared. A wooden sign came into view. "Welcome to Hollow Creek." Confused, Ethan slowed down, looking around. But something felt wrong. The streets were silent. No cars, no people. Just rows of old wooden houses with curtains drawn tight. As his car rolled forward, every streetlight flickered one by one until only the light above his car was glowing. Then it went out. Ethan's engine sputtered and died. Darkness swallowed the entire road. Ethan stepped out of the car, shivering. The air was heavy and unnaturally cold, like the whole town was holding its breath. He called out, "Hello? Anyone there?" His voice echoed down the empty street, but no one replied. As he walked, he noticed every house had curtains tightly shut. But the curtains moved slightly, as if someone was standing just behind them, watching. The sidewalks were cracked and broken. Rusty swings in a small park creaked even though there was no wind. On a bench, he saw a newspaper. Its headline faded with age. "Hollow Creek residents vanish overnight. No trace found." The date? Over 50 years ago. Suddenly, a bell rang in the distance, one slow, deep chime. Then silence again. Ethan turned toward the sound, and far down the road he saw a figure standing under a streetlight, completely still. When Ethan blinked, the figure was gone. Heart pounding, he whispered to himself, "I need to get out of here." Ethan followed the sound of the bell. Down a narrow side street, he saw a faint neon sign flickering. Hollow Creek Diner. Relief washed over him. Finally, someone who can help me. He pushed the glass door open. A small bell above it jingled. The smell of burnt coffee filled the air. Inside, a lone waitress stood behind the counter, her back to him. She didn't move or turn around when the bell rang. "Excuse me," Ethan said cautiously. "My car broke down. Can I use a phone?" The waitress slowly turned her head. Only her head, the rest of her body perfectly still. Her eyes were completely white, and her lips curled into a strange, too wide smile. "Welcome back, Ethan," she said calmly. "We've been waiting for you." Ethan froze. "What?" "No, you must be mistaken. I don't even live here." But as he stumbled back, the entire diner shifted like reality itself was bending. Chairs rearranged, the counter stretched further away. And now, every seat was filled with silent, pale-faced patrons, all staring directly at him. Ethan bolted out of the diner, heart pounding, gasping for breath. The neon sign flickered wildly behind him, and when he looked back, the diner was gone. In its place stood an old boarded-up building, its windows shattered, as if the diner had never existed at all. "What the hell is going on here?" Ethan shouted, spinning in circles. He ran through the streets, desperate to find his car, but every turn he took brought him back to the same intersection. The street signs kept changing names right in front of his eyes. Buildings twisted and stretched like shadows, warping into impossible angles. Suddenly, all the streetlights flickered off at once. Darkness swallowed the entire town. The only sound was his ragged breathing. Then, footsteps. Dozens of them. Slow, synchronized, coming from every direction. A faint whisper filled the air, repeating his name. "Ethan, Ethan, Ethan." Terrified, he shined his flashlight ahead and saw figures crawling out of the fog, their faces blank and featureless. He turned to run, but every path was blocked. The town had closed around him. Ethan stumbled into a narrow alley, lungs burning, and spotted an old stone church at the far end. Its door hung crookedly on rusted hinges, but it was the only place without fog creeping inside. He slammed the door shut behind him and collapsed to the floor, chest heaving. For a moment, there was silence. Only the faint sound of whispering prayers echoing through the dark hall. "Hello?" Ethan called out softly. No answer. He raised his flashlight and froze. Every pew was filled with lifeless figures, frozen mid-prayer, their skin pale and gray, mouths wide open, like they had been screaming when they turned to stone. At the altar, Ethan saw a dusty leather-bound journal. He opened it with trembling hands. The faded writing revealed a horrifying truth. Hollow Creek is not a place. It's a prison. The journal described a ritual gone wrong decades ago. The entire town was cursed, trapped between worlds. It feeds on lost travelers, turning them into new residents to keep the cycle going. On the last page, written in fresh ink, were chilling words. "Welcome home, Ethan." His flashlight flickered. The stone figures behind him moved their heads in unison. Their mouths slowly began to close. Ethan slammed the journal shut, his hands trembling. "No, this can't be real. This place isn't real." The stone figures behind him moved again, their heads turning to face him all at once, stone cracking and groaning as they rose to their feet. He bolted for the church doors, but when he shoved them open, the street outside had changed. It wasn't the quiet, foggy town anymore. Now it was alive. Buildings pulsed like beating hearts, streetlights bent and twisted toward him, and the sky churned with impossible colors. From every alley, the blank-faced figures emerged, their mouths stretching open unnaturally wide, releasing a low, vibrating hum that rattled inside Ethan's skull. "Stay away from me!" he screamed, racing toward where he remembered his car had been. But no matter how far he ran, the same street sign appeared ahead of him. Hollow Creek, Main Road. He realized the horrifying truth. The town isn't just trapping me, it's changing me. His reflection in a shattered window showed faint cracks spreading across his skin, just like the stone figures inside the church. Ethan stumbled into a narrow alley, clutching his chest, his skin splitting faintly like cracked porcelain. I'm turning into one of them," he whispered, trembling. Suddenly, a raspy voice echoed from the darkness. "You don't belong here. Not yet." Ethan spun around, shining his flashlight. Out of the shadows emerged an old man, half transparent, like a ghost caught between worlds. His eyes were hollow, his body flickering in and out of focus. "Who are you?" Ethan demanded. "What is this place?" The old man coughed, his voice shaking. "Hollow Creek feeds on the lost. It traps their souls, reshapes them into its people. You've been chosen to replace someone who tried to escape." Ethan's voice broke. "How do I get out? Tell me." The old man leaned closer, his form glitching like a broken film reel. "There's only one way out, through the heart of the town, the oldest house at the center square. But if you fail..." The street behind them screamed as the blank-faced figures appeared again, closing in. The old man grabbed Ethan's arm. "Run, boy! Run, and don't look back!" Ethan sprinted, the ghostly figure fading into the mist. Ethan ran through twisting streets, guided only by the ghost's words echoing in his head. The heart of the town, the oldest house. The fog grew thicker with every step. Buildings leaned inward, their walls breathing, as if the entire town was alive and watching him. Finally, he burst into a wide open square. In the center stood a massive ancient mansion, far older than any other building. Its windows were dark hollows, but a deep red light pulsed faintly from within, like a giant beating heart. Ethan's legs trembled. This is it," he whispered. The ground beneath him shifted, and he stumbled forward, realizing the cobblestones formed shapes, faces screaming silently, frozen beneath his feet. As he approached the mansion, the front doors swung open on their own, emitting a low, guttural hum. The blank-faced figures filled the square behind him, forming a silent crowd. A voice echoed from the mansion, deep and ancient. "Come home, Ethan." Ethan clutched his flashlight tightly, took a deep breath, and stepped inside. The door slammed shut behind Ethan with a deafening thud. Instantly, the air inside felt heavy, almost liquid, like he was breathing underwater. The hallway ahead stretched unnaturally long. Paintings on the walls watched him, their eyes shifting to follow his every move. He took a cautious step forward, and the floor pulsed beneath his feet, like he was standing on living flesh. The wooden walls quivered, and faint whispers seeped out of the cracks, repeating his name. "Ethan, Ethan, Ethan." As he walked deeper, the hallways began to change shape behind him. Doors melted into the walls, staircases appeared and vanished. He realized with growing terror the house wasn't built to keep people safe. It was a living organism, and he was inside its body. At the far end of the hallway, he saw strange symbols glowing faintly red on the floor. As his flashlight beam passed over them, his skin itched and burned, the cracks spreading further up his arms. A deep, ancient voice reverberated through the house, low and guttural. "You are almost one of us." Ethan staggered toward the glowing symbols, his skin now cracked and glowing faintly beneath the surface. The air around him shimmered, and suddenly, everything changed. The walls dissolved into blinding white light, and Ethan found himself standing in the same town square. But it looked different, brand new, lively. People bustled through the streets, smiling and waving, a perfectly normal, happy small town. Children laughed, shopkeepers greeted customers. But their faces were slightly too perfect, their movements too synchronized. A deep, ancient voice narrated the scene, echoing in Ethan's mind. Long ago, Hollow Creek was a place of harmony, until the townsfolk sought eternal life. The vision shifted. He saw the people gathered in the central mansion, performing a dark ritual, their voices chanting in unison. A massive red sigil glowed beneath their feet. They merged themselves with the town, the voice continued, binding their souls to its very foundation. Suddenly, screams erupted. The townsfolk's bodies melted into shadows, their faces stretching unnaturally as they were absorbed into the walls. Buildings breathed, streets screamed. "Now, Hollow Creek feeds!" the voice boomed. "It must always have new souls, and when you enter, you are chosen." The vision shattered. Ethan collapsed back into the present, gasping, horrified, as the glowing sigils beneath him pulsed violently. The sigils beneath Ethan's feet glowed brighter, spreading like veins across the floor, creeping up the walls, wrapping around his legs. "No!" Ethan screamed, thrashing wildly. His skin cracked further, glowing red from underneath, like something inside him was trying to escape outward. The ancient voice thundered through the mansion. "You are ours now!" Hollow Creek must grow. From the hallways, the blank-faced figures poured in, moving in perfect unison, their mouths open in silent screams. As they approached, Ethan saw their faces shifting, some flickering into images of people he knew, friends, family. The town was trying to trick him, to make him surrender willingly. "This isn't real!" he yelled, but a horrifying thought gnawed at his mind. What if it was? The walls pulsed like a living heart. The floor beneath him split open, revealing a massive glowing red chasm below. Hands, dozens of shadowy hands, reached up, grasping for him, pulling him toward the pit. With a final burst of strength, Ethan ripped free and ran, charging deeper into the mansion, toward what he hoped was an exit. Ethan stumbled through a warped hallway, his breathing ragged, skin glowing with faint cracks. Every step felt like he was walking through a throat, the walls pulsing and flexing around him. The hallway opened into a massive chamber. At its center floated a grotesque beating heart, as large as a house. Its surface made of twisted faces, screaming silently with each pulse. Thick black veins stretched from it, snaking through the walls, connecting to every building in Hollow Creek. With every beat, the entire mansion shook, like the town itself was breathing. Ethan gagged, choking on the stench of blood and rot. This is it," he whispered, his voice trembling. The ancient voice boomed all around him. "You are part of me, Ethan. Surrender, and you will never be alone again." The blank-faced figures entered the chamber, forming a perfect circle around the heart, their heads tilted in unison. They began chanting, their voices merging into one horrible sound. Ethan clutched a rusted iron rod he'd grabbed earlier. "If I destroy this thing, maybe I can end it." But as he raised the rod, dozens of black shadowy arms burst from the heart, wrapping around him, pulling him toward its surface. Ethan screamed as the shadowy arms dragged him closer to the grotesque beating heart. The faces on its surface opened their mouths, whispering his name in unison. "Ethan! Ethan! Join us!" With a final surge of strength, he drove the iron rod deep into the heart center. The chamber erupted with a deafening shriek, a sound so powerful it felt like it was ripping reality apart. The blank-faced figures convulsed violently, their perfect synchronization breaking for the first time. Some of them melted into black ooze, others screamed silently before bursting into mist. The walls of the mansion rippled and split open, revealing endless dark voids behind them. Buildings outside collapsed in on themselves as the entire town screamed in agony. But the heart fought back. The black veins lashed out like whips, slamming into Ethan, knocking him to the ground. Blood filled his mouth. The cracks on his skin glowed blinding red, as if Hollow Creek was trying to fully absorb him in its final moments. "You will never leave," the ancient voice roared, shaking the chamber to its core. Ethan, barely conscious, grabbed the iron rod again and stabbed repeatedly, until the heart split open with a final horrible squelch. As the heart split open, a wave of blinding red light exploded outward. Ethan shielded his eyes, screaming as the ground beneath him shook violently. The blank-faced figures disintegrated into mist, their final silent screams echoing through the chamber. The walls of the mansion crumbled away, revealing a dark void where streets and houses used to be. Outside, Hollow Creek itself collapsed, buildings imploding, streetlights shattering like glass. The entire town screamed, its voice fading into nothingness. Ethan fell to his knees, gasping, the cracks in his skin slowly fading, his body returning to normal. The oppressive fog lifted. He was standing on a cracked, abandoned road under a pale morning sky. The cursed town was gone. Tears filled his eyes. I did it," he whispered, collapsing in relief. Behind him, faintly, a bell rang once, a familiar deep chime. Ethan froze. "No, it's over. It has to be over." But when he turned around, there was nothing there. Only silence. Ethan staggered to his feet, his breathing finally slowing. The road ahead stretched endlessly, empty and silent. It felt normal. He whispered to himself, "I survived. It's over." Up ahead, through the fading fog, he saw a small diner. Its neon sign flickered weakly. Open 24 hours. His stomach growled, and for the first time in hours, he allowed himself a shaky smile. Food, maybe a phone. Finally, people. He pushed the glass door open. The bell above jingled softly. Inside, a lone waitress stood behind the counter, her back to him. The smell of burnt coffee filled the air. "Excuse me," Ethan said nervously. "Do you have a phone I can use?" The waitress slowly turned her head, only her head, her body perfectly still. Her eyes were pure white, and her mouth curled into a too-wide grin. "Welcome back, Ethan," she said calmly. "We've been waiting for you." Ethan stumbled backward in horror. Through the diner window, he saw streetlights flicker one by one, leading back into a dense fog. He turned to flee, but when he burst out the door, he wasn't on a road anymore. He was standing in the mansion's chamber, the giant heart whole again, beating louder than ever. The ancient voice thundered, "You never left Hollow Creek!" Ethan screamed as the scene collapsed around him, his body shattering into mist. The screen fades to black, and a single bell chime echoes in the darkness.